is up, guys? I'm the Wynaut Gamer, and today I have my brothers Trell and Ren with me, and we are going to be talking a lot about Spider-Man while we're playing Marvel's Spider-Man on the PS4. So we're going to be kind of ranking kind of the top Spider-Man games, mainly Spider-Man games, not like side games that he's like in, like maybe a Lego game, but the main games, and we're going to be going through and ranking them from what we feel like is the worst to the best. And so it's going to start out with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. And Ren's going to start talking a little bit about this now.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So
explain a little how we ranked them.
Yeah, so how we ranked these games, right? Was we did 5 different segments, or 4 different segments. So first we're going to talk about the story. Second we're going to talk about how smooth the gameplay is. Third we're going to talk about the aesthetic of the game, just kind of how pretty it looks, that sort of deal, how pleasing it is to the eye. Then 4, we're going to talk about the Spider-Man factor, just how much it makes you feel like it.
And the difficulty.
And number 5, we're going to talk about the challenge of the game, the difficulty. Cool, so yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man, that's what we got as number 13 on our list. Yeah, it's this game, the challenge of it, looks like we got it at a 2. Yeah, the game, it's just, it's not hard. It's not hard at all. It's not even the good type of hard, where you get interested in it, you kind of get a little frustrated, so you keep going at it harder. It's just kind of smooth and easy to play through. Number 2, we got the story. We put that as a 2 as well. It's just not that interesting. It takes place right after the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, so it's not exactly a movie tie-in game, but it kind of follows the story afterwards. Just kind of bland. Cool, and with the smoothness of the game, so we gave it a 4. The game plays really well. It's smooth. The combat's well. They switched over to the Arkham style of combat, and it definitely doesn't have the power of the Batman gameplay, but it does its best, and it plays smooth. Not too many bugs. On the aesthetic of the game, that's kind of where it falters a little bit. It's just not too pretty of a game, you know. It came out in 2012, just comparative to a lot of other game franchises. Just doesn't look the best. A little bit of a letdown for sure. And the last thing, the Spider-Man factor, probably the biggest thing going into a Spider-Man game. Do you feel like Spider-Man? Let's see, we gave that a 3. It still has that feeling, the web swing. The camera's very close in on this game, so it gives that very intense feeling. It's pretty cool. It can be great sometimes.
Yeah, I always thought that was a pretty decent game. It was a
Decent game, the worst on our list, but
definitely not the best game.
Not the best game,
but it was decent. I mean, it's Spider-Man, you know.
This time is a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, for sure. It could have been better, for sure. Okay, number 12 is Friend or Foe. This game is to be played like multiplayer. There's 2 people playing. You get to be Spider-Man, but you also get to be either a good guy or a bad guy that comes with him from the Spider-Man series. And it's a fun game to be playing just with a friend or a little kid. It's more for little kids. You know, the challenge, it's not very hard at all. Even if you die, you just respawn right where you're at. And then the story, I mean, it's an okay story. It has its good and its bad parts, but for the most part, it's not very good. The smoothness, it plays actually pretty well. For what it's meant to be, it plays really well. And it's only meant to be, you know, that 2-player game. You go in and you're mashing the buttons to try to kill the bad guys that are in front of you. And then the aesthetic, I mean, it looks okay. For its time, it's not too bad of a game. I mean, that's kind of what it was meant to be. So you can't give it a bad rating. We put it right in the middle on the looks because it's not bad, it's not amazing. And then finally, the Spider-Man factor. Definitely, you do not feel like Spider-Man playing this game. You just run around, you mash buttons, you can't web swing, it's just really basic. And yeah, so that's Friend or Foe for you. And now, next on the list is our number 11, right? That will be Spider-Man 3.
yes. This is Spider-Man 3. The movie came out in 2007 after the movie. This came out on consoles like Wii, PlayStation 3 had one. It was a follow-up to Spider-Man 2. So there was a lot of hype for it. It was expected to follow in those footsteps, but as you can tell by our ranking, it did not do so well in following in those footsteps. So, just to get into it, the challenge, we ranked it pretty low, a 2. I mean, not that can't be hard in some places, but that's just the thing, is it's not hard for good reasons. It's frustrating hard. It's like, it shouldn't be playing like this hard. So, our challenge ratings kind of went into, is this a good kind of hard, or is this just plain old bad design, and it's just not working right now? And this is kind of the case for this game. The story, it kind of just follows the movie along, but it does have some added things like the lizard chase and Kraven the Hunter's in it. Those kind of things made it a little better, a little more interesting. We gave it a 2 still, not a great ranking. It's just kind of you just play through it. The smoothness of the game. Now again, another 2. This game kind of gets 2s across the board. It's not very smooth at all, especially compared to its predecessor. It's clunky in places. The web swinging's a lot more clunky than it was before. Spider-Man's combat's just kind of, just very basic, not very smooth. And then the aesthetic looks not great for this next gen. It should have looked a little better than it did. Again, the clunkiness kind of plays into that too. It's not a great rating on aesthetic. And then the Spider-Man factor, this one got a little higher. We gave it a 3. Because, I mean, you are still web swinging in an open world. You're fighting crime. You're taking out those big bosses. So it did a not bad job with actually feeling like you're Spider-Man.
Sweet, yeah, that was a pretty okay game. I mean, one that, you're playing the story of a game.
A lot of
a movie.
A lot of people got it because it was,
Yeah, that's what
Pretty
you're
hard
looking
to
at is
follow.
the movie. And the
Spider
movie
too.
was pretty decent. In some people's opinions.
That's my favorite movie.
Some people love it, some people hate it. But, that's how it is. All right, and I think number 10 is what we're on now, and that is The Amazing Spider-Man.
Amazing Spider-Man. Cool. So this one came out in 2012, I believe, tying in with Andrew Garfield's first movie. So yeah, it came out on 360, PS3. Yeah, for the challenge part of the game, we gave it a 2. The game, yeah, you just kind of play through it. It's another one of those. It's just not very hard. You just play through it. It gets annoying sometimes. The gameplay kind of makes it a little challenging, but that's not on the creators, right? They're just kind of goofed up. Didn't really give it too much challenge for those more experienced players. With story, we also gave it a 2. Just not that much that really goes into it. It's just kind of a tie-in. You just go through a regular Spider-Man story. There's just really not much buy-in there. With how smooth it plays, we give it a 4. It actually plays very smoothly, There's not very many bugs in the game. The gameplay's nice. It's you can just kind of play through it if you're just relaxed and not really putting much effort into it. It's definitely not a bad game for that. Cool. On the aesthetic of the game, we give it a 2. It came out in 2012. You got the Xbox 360, PS3 graphics. That's we all know what that can do with Skyrim, games like that.
This was later on in their life.
Yeah, very later on in the Gen's lives, and you can tell they just the creators didn't put too much effort into it. Okay, and the last thing with the Spider-Man factor, we gave it a 3. Again, you get to swing around the city, fighting crime, doing little side missions and stuff. I've always loved that about Spider-Man games. It makes it quite fun, making you feel like a hero. So it does a decent job there.
Yeah, The Amazing Spider-Man wasn't a bad game. Why it's so much higher than its Amazing Spider-Man 2 is, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is almost the same game. Mm-hmm. It's just, it didn't do it as well. It wasn't as good a story, but other than that, it was practically like the same thing. So next on our list, number 9 is Edge of Time. Now, Ren knows this one a little bit better, so maybe he'll help me out here. But Edge of Time, from what we ranked it, I'll go through the rankings, have Ren talk about it a little bit. We got a 2 for the challenge. So, I think this game was actually too hard. That's why we ranked it lower, was because this game, it was just...
factor of...
Yeah, it was overdone in
Makes you
how
want to throw
hard.
your controller
Yeah.
at the TV.
You don't have lives, and so when you die, you kind of just reset from where the quick save point was.
That can be
and
very far back.
Yeah, it can be either very far, or it's just like this one level you're diving down a hole, and it's really hard to hit the gap, and then you die, and you just redo it over and over, and it just is very annoying.
Yeah. Free fall segments are hell.
And then the story, we actually gave it a 4. It was a good story, and we'll have Ren talk more about the story in just a sec. The smoothness, though, we gave a 1. It was really clunky. It was hard to make those movements that you needed to make to be able to get past the certain levels.
Free fall again.
The free falling was really, really hard. It was bad. And now the aesthetics, it actually looked really good. It was a 4. It did have really good graphics for its time. It looked amazing. And then the overall Spider-Man factor, we gave a 2. You don't get a web swing that much. It's level based, so you're not really as free as most people would like Spider-Man to be. And yeah, that's really kind of how we ranked it. And Ren, do you have a little to add about the game, maybe the story?
Yeah, I think this game really, how it sticks out in a good way is the story, and the voice acting is incredible with the 2 past Spider-Man voice actors.
Christopher Daniel Barnes.
That's
return to Spider-Man.
Yeah, they take on both the Spider-Man roles in this game, so that's always amazing to hear. That's it's very pleasing to look at. So, but yeah, it definitely has its hard suits with those free-falling missions. It's clunky, the gameplay, but I appreciate how much effort you can tell they put into it for sure.
Sweet. All right, now on our list is Spider-Man movie.
Okay, so this is the movie version of, the game version of the movie that released in 2002. So Tobey Maguire comes in and plays Spider-Man, does all the voice acting. I think they had Willem Dafoe as well, who voiced the Goblin.
Awesome.
And Bruce Campbell is, he's making fun of you, telling me he's staying in tutorial and such things. Which is, it's got a cult following for that reason. And the game has charm. It's pretty charming. The challenge, first off, we gave it a 2. It's very similar to some earlier Spider-Man titles. I don't know. It was kind of, again, just a little bit clunky, and that made the difficulty not hard not in a good way. And then there were some parts that weren't hard, and then some parts that were just frustratingly hard. And we don't think that's a good challenge according to our ranks. Story. We gave the story a 2 because it's just kind of the movie with some extra like side missions in here and there that you have to do to make the game longer. They didn't really do anything special. Smoothness, we gave it a 2 as well. It's kind of clunky. It's early on in the PS2. Spider-Man's he moves a little clunky in directions. He's going one way or the other. He's not really smooth, and even in his combat's a little clunky. His web swing, he just looks like he's, from tree to tree like Tarzan. It's not much like Spider-Man web swing. Let's see. The aesthetic of the game, we gave it a 4 here, I think, because it's pretty good. It's pretty good for the PS2. The graphics look good. It looks a big improvement from previous titles. We gave it a good rank. And the Spider-Man factor, again, we gave it a 4, because you get to play as Tobey in his first outing. The Spider-Man movie. It had a lot of hype, and it really lived up to that. You felt like you were Spider-Man in his world.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. Now for number 7, Enter Electro from the PS1.
You guys want to try? You're probably going to have to help me out with this one a little bit.
Yeah, this one's a sequel to Spider-Man. It came out in 2001. Enter Electro. So they switched developers, so it got kind of a different look. A different feel with the same look, if you will. Enter Electro was... go ahead and give it its rankings, then we'll talk about it.
Alright, cool. So in the challenge section, we gave it a 4. I think it's pretty fair. I think it deals with a lot of that clunkiness of the early gen games.
Yeah. It had a good challenge, but its clunkiness can make it a little bit too challenging and not a good way again.
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
Kind of a common thing with these games.
Cool. And for story, it looks like we gave it a 3.
Yeah.
So solid.
Story was solid. Didn't do what its predecessor did. Didn't bring in enough villains to really pull for a story.
Yeah, there were the lackluster
underwhelming villains for sure.
Pretty basic villains trying to do something. Spider-Man's got to stop.
Yeah. And in the smooth category, it's looked like we gave it a 2. Again, just kind of those older titles.
Older one, PS1, it's a little clunky.
Not fluid. No web swinging or anything.
It's tough. Yeah, the web swinging is really basic, like the old, like swinging like Tarzan, right? Cool. In the aesthetic, we gave it a 4. For its time, I think it's beautiful.
It looks good. If you
good.
look at other PS1 titles, I mean, Spider-Man's pretty fleshed out, and so are his villains. Their faces look terrible, but that's part of PS1 era, so we ranked it accordingly.
Sure. I think you compared it to like something like Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider,
it looks way better.
It looks way better.
Yeah, for sure. The Spider-Man factor, we gave it a 4 as well.
Yeah. I mean, this was like the first 3D Spider-Man game, and he really delivered it. You get to feel like Peter Parker and Spider-Man and live in his universe, his comic book world. It's pretty
100%. No, the really cool thing about this game is all the different suits.
Oh yeah, that's what you got to talk
That
about.
is the amazing thing about this game.
Yeah, and power-ups. It really brought some nice touches in it.
And Stan Lee narrated.
And Stan Lee does.
That's
narrate.
huge.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, we all love him.
All right, now for number 6, we got Shattered Dimensions, and Ren's gonna actually talk about this one for us.
Well, Shattered Dimensions, I think I'm the only one out of us that got to play this game.
Yeah.
It kind of went under the radar a little bit, I think. It's definitely a different Spider-Man game. Unlike most of them, it's not that open world that a lot of people search for. It's definitely level-based. It's very level-based. You actually just click on the different levels. It's pretty cool, though. This game, you're split up into the 4 different Spider-Man. It's pretty neat from each different universe. The voice acting is incredible, all very specific. It's very cool. So looks like in the challenge department we gave it a 3. The game plays smooth. Sometimes it can be a little tedious with gameplay. There's a few bugs, but for the most part, the game plays like a very basic Spider-Man game. More of a beat 'em up than other titles for sure. And the story category also gave it a 3. Very basic story. You're just kind of following Mysterio. Basically shatters this dimensional old antique thing, and that's how all the different Spider-Men get involved. It's a decent story. You can definitely get involved into it. The smoothness factor, we give it a 4 in this department. Gameplay is very good. It's just solid. It's basically what you'd ask for. There's a few power-ups of the different Spider-Man. It's pretty cool. You can upgrade them along the way based on how you play. Pretty neat. The aesthetic, I think it's a 5, 100%. I think the game is very beautiful to look at. Each specific Spider-Man world brings a different look and a different comic series. I think it's a really cool touch.
It's kind of the Spiderverse is what gets talked about a lot.
Yeah, right. Nowadays, they kind of did it before it was getting popular. It's pretty neat.
Sweet. And next we have number 5, Web of Shadows. So Web of Shadows was a PS2 game. Or was it PS3? Yeah, it's PS3 and Wii. We had it on the Wii, that's right. This was actually a step up from the last games that were coming out.
Spider-Man
3. Yeah, it had just hit Spider-Man 3, which was kind of a drag for most people that like Spider-Man games, especially after Spider-Man 2 had such high praise. Spider-Man 3 was kind of a letdown, but then we got hit with Web of Shadows, and it was good. It was really, really good. I was impressed with the game. For a challenge, we gave it a 4. It was challenging, but not too challenging. It had a lot of good bad guys and fun moments that you were able to play with. And then for story, we gave it a 4 also. It was really cool in the story where you could pick either to go along with good guys like Wolverine, or you could go along with the bad guys, which was like Venom and other people that were with them, and you do missions for them, and you kind of could, you could choose.
Brought in a lot of the Marvel universe.
It brought in a lot of characters. It had you choose if you wanted to be good, if you wanted to be bad. It gave you a little bit of choice, and that was fun. The aesthetic we had at a 3. It was good. It looked really good. It was very solid. And it was also a 3 for smoothness. It was very smooth. And then the Spider-Man factor, we gave a 4 because it was really good. We moved well, open world. You got to see a lot of Spider-Man, bad guys and good guys. It was a really, really good game.
Make choices for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Going to kicking symbiote butt.
A lot of symbiotes in this one.
Sure.
All right, and for number 4, we got Spider-Man for the PS1.
Spider-Man for the PS1. I'll take this one. So this game came out in 2000, right at the turn of the decade on the PS1. It's a great game. It's really great game. So our ratings for it, for challenge, we gave it a 4. This was similar to Enter Electro because it was the game that came before it. Right? Enter Electro was a sequel to this one. Challenge is good. It can be, if you crank the difficulty up, it can be really frustrating and not in a great way. And it starts to reveal some of its clunks and bugs that way. But if you don't, it's great. You can go through it. You feel like you got a challenge even on normal mode, and it's lots of fun. Story. So the story here is a 5 all the way. And this had so many just of Spider-Man's top-notch adversaries and villains. It's crazy. You had Jameson, you had MJ, you had Black Cat. All these guys, these characters were in it, and great story. You know, you felt like you were in the comic book. It was good. Smoothness. So this is its lowest ranking. It's a 2. Just these PS1 ones just weren't all that smooth. They were kind of clunky. Spider-Man moves kind of in diagonals instead of, you know, really freely and fluidly, which is just kind of typical of the PS1. But yeah, it faltered, and it faltered even then. You know, it's hard to kind of grab something that you want to grab off the ground and throw it the way you want to throw it, or web in a certain direction. It's not super smooth. Aesthetic-wise, we gave this one a 4, just like Enter Electro. For its time, it looks really good. The characters, you know, they're solid. You can tell who they are. Their faces again are kind of messy, but that's just kind of the PS1.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man factor, we gave it a 4 as well, because again, you feel like you're in his world. The only thing is it is a little clunky, so you don't move as acrobatically or as freely as Spider-Man we would want him to. But again, it did a great job for its time, and it's definitely one of my favorites, one that I go back to even today. Yeah, it's a great title.
Sweet. Yeah, I didn't get to play that one. I really wish I would. That sounds like a really, really great game. I did get to play Enter Electro, and I really enjoyed that one, so I really want to go back and be able to play that one. All right, so for number 3, we have the Ultimate Spider-Man, and we're going to have Ren talk about that one, so he played that one.
Ultimate Spider-Man. This game flew under the radar a lot. This came out in 2005.
I had no idea this was around. This came out.
Came out in 2005, right after Spider-Man 2. That was a huge success, obviously. That's probably a big reason
probably
for
overshadowed it.
Yeah, definitely. But wow, this game, this is one of my favorite probably games of all time. So cool. We gave him the challenge department. We gave it a 5. The game, it's just as challenging as it should be. It's as challenging as a Spider-Man game should be.
That's key, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely key. It should be playable, and it should be difficult enough to make you want to keep coming back. Keep coming back for sure. And, the story department, we gave it a 2. It's definitely where the game falls short for sure. It's a really short game. You probably kick it out in really just a few days if you really wanted to. That's definitely where it falls short. In the smooth department, we gave it a 5. The gameplay is very similar to Spider-Man 2 in a way. If you know that sort of combat's a little more common. That's just straight punch and then dodge combos. It's really good. The web swinging is brilliant in this game. All the different web combos, you can of course level them up to make yourself better. It's just it's very interesting, keeps you involved. Does a great job at that. Now, the aesthetic of this game is probably my favorite looking Spider-Man game for sure. It's right off the comic page. Yeah, it holds up today. You go back and play this.
You could take it for a 360 game.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's just that timeless art style of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. I think it's just so beautiful. They definitely nailed it there. For the Spider-Man factor, we gave it a 4. It's you still have those side missions like any other Spider-Man game. You're swinging around, being a hero. I think a thing they nailed definitely in this game was the high school Peter Parker. He's just this skinny, nerdy kid that's dealing with high school crap. At the same time, he's got to go save lives, right? I think this game totally nailed that in that department.
Sweet. Nice. Oh yeah, for sure. From what I saw, it looked really, really good. And it was very similar to the next one, which we have on the list, which is our number 2, which is Spider-Man 2, which came out on the PlayStation 2. And I think we'll all talk about this one. This one was the first Spider-Man game that was like, wow, this is Spider-Man. This makes you feel like Spider-Man. And I think it set the bar from all the later games that have ever came out. Sure. It's like, is this as good as Spider-Man 2?
Yep.
And this game was amazing. For challenge, we have on it a 5. It was really, really good. It had challenging moments, but at the same time, it was...
It's a game you can keep getting better at as you play.
Exactly. You can get better. You have upgrades. Spider-Man may be weak at the very first, but then once you upgrade him, you get strong. And the game becomes a little easier. You become better at it. And for story, we have that. That's its worst part. It's a 3. Kind of like follows along the movie, which, it's not as exciting. It has a little added things that you can do.
It's a story you've heard before, you've seen it before because you watched the movie.
Exactly. So, You watch the movie, that's why you got the game.
So it's good, but you know what's happening, no surprises.
Exactly. For smoothness, we got it at also a 5. It was amazing for its time. I mean, this was Spider-Man. You felt like Spider-Man, you moved like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was huge.
Being able to swing that fast through an open world.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
yeah, that
2004?
momentum,
That was wild.
Exactly, 2004. All right, the aesthetic we also had at a 4, which is really good. I mean, it's not the most beautiful game you ever see, but at that time, it looked pretty dang good. Yeah, it looked good. The New York was amazing. It was amazing being able to swing through New York, so that was awesome. And then the Spider-Man factor, easily we had it at a 5. I mean, this is what set the bar. Like I said, it was Spider-Man. If you want to feel like Spider-Man,
Free to be Spider-Man.
oh yeah, you play this game and you'll feel like Spider-Man. All right, and then for our number 1, we have the Marvel Spider-Man PS4. And this game is our number 1 for many reasons.
Yeah, no surprise.
It is just amazing. It really is. You've been watching the gameplay. It is a really, really, really great game. So the challenge we had at a 5, it's good challenging.
It has like 4 difficulty.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's every type of character, every type
As you
of
get
player.
Oh yeah, a young kid can play it on easy one. Really, if you want really hard, you can pick a really hard one. And man, it's hard. Like,
I think the challenge is in the combat.
yeah,
For Spider-Man 2, the challenge is in the combat and the web swing. This one's, it's more just in the combat.
yeah, for sure. The combat would be definitely the hardest part. And then the story, we got easy 5. This game was phenomenal.
Oh my god,
Phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They could put it in theaters and I'd go see it.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Like,
it's
good.
Wow.
It's
Quality.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was that
Writing is-
older
the
Peter
writing is
Parker,
amazing.
and that's my favorite Peter Parker. And
Oh,
they
yeah.
just really, I was like, yeah, that's my Spider-Man. You know,
oh yeah, he had a good relationship with MJ. They're kind of thing. They're kind of
different,
nods.
different
It's
one
different.
that was,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
but it worked.
But yeah, it worked very
The
well.
voice actors were brilliant. You just believed everything, every relationship.
Oh yeah, I think we all got emotional there.
I mean, it was so
Yeah.
real that I was like, am I playing a Spider-Man game? Because there's no like comic book
Uh-huh.
factor to it.
Yeah.
It's just like a real life.
Yeah.
It just felt real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the aesthetic we got at a 5. It looks amazing, plays amazing. You're swinging through New York. It's really phenomenal. It looks great game.
Yeah. That's looking PS4 games.
Oh, yeah, it looks real.
Spider-Man looks great. He got all his suits.
Oh,
Look
Oh
beautiful.
man, yeah.
So many options.
You see as we're
You see us
scrolling through the
switching
suits,
through the
tons
suits,
of
yeah.
them.
the
tons
new
of
suit,
them.
the game from the suit. Like I can't imagine how hard it is making like an original, like amazing Spider-Man suit, but they did it.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
wow.
that-
I mean,
it's
that
like the best
suit
suit on the
is my
whole
favorite
thing.
suit now, and
yeah.
yeah.
Sweet.
It's like Insomniac is like, wow,
Kudos,
they did
yeah.
a great job.
They did awesome.
Oh yeah. And then for sure the Spider-Man factor, it hits the 5.
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
hard as
we
they
could
could
give
possibly
it a
hit.
higher rank.
Oh
on
yeah.
Peter
our
Parker, like
That is Spider-Man.
most
right
people
there.
capture Spider-Man, but like to capture Peter Parker,
Yeah,
like
that's
that's
true.
crazy.
It's true.
Yeah.
It nailed it for sure. But yeah, you guys have anything else to add? Anything else you want to say?
I mean, I don't know how many bigger Spider-Man fans than us there are out there, but yeah, there's a reason why we played like every single one. And we've even played some before this that we didn't.
Yeah,
we played handheld ones that
yeah,
didn't
there's
include.
Yeah.
handhelds. There's off branches of Spider-Man
Yeah,
that we played. that we've seen.
All the series, cartoons, movies. Yeah. So it's brought us a lot of joy to be able to relate to Spider-Man.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Go
So
through-
much hope.
Go through all that, watch him go through all that stuff, and be able to relate to that in our own lives. Yeah, it gives you hope too when you hear a story.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
We appreciate that.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let us know in the comments what your list would be. What are your favorite Spider-Man games? Let us know. Let us know who your favorite superhero is. I think most of ours is probably Spider-Man. We love Spider-Man.
Yes, sir.
For sure. He's just an awesome superhero. Tell us if you agreed with us or if you didn't. Make sure to check out our other videos on the channel. We talk about a lot of different games. We play a lot of different games. Come and join us. Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. And we'll see you guys in the next one.